Ever heard the saying, more money, more problems? Well, get this. We're diving into why being rich or attractive might not be all it's cracked up to be. Especially when it comes to relationships, you'd think it'd be smooth sailing, right? But this deep dive has me wondering if maybe it's the opposite.
It's a real head scratcher, isn't it?
We're dissecting this conversation between two people who are basically arguing that the more you focus on wealth or beauty in a partner, the more likely you are to end up cheated on.
And what's fascinating here is why that might be. The conversation we're analyzing suggests it boils down to the kind of partner you're likely to attract when those things are your top priority.
Okay, so unpack that for me.
Well, imagine someone who's totally fixated on having a partner dripping in diamonds or turning heads wherever they go. It's like they're sending out the signal flare that attracts a certain type, someone more interested in the perks than the person.
The classic gold digger scenario.
Yeah.
But maybe not just about the gold, right?
Exactly. And it cuts both ways. This isn't just about men with money and the women who pursue them. Think about the flip side. An incredibly attractive woman might find herself pursued by partners who are more enamored with her looks than her personality or values. There's even a quote from the source that sums this up perfectly. So they end up attracting women who just like his lifestyle, who don't care if there's a lot of emotional connection.
Wow. So it's not just about having those qualities, it's about who you attract because of them. It's almost like setting yourself up for trouble from the get-go.
It really makes you think about the whole be careful what you wish for idea. But it goes even deeper than that. The source also talks about how this whole dynamic might be linked to a person's underlying desires and how those desires influence their choices in partners.
Okay, I'm intrigued. Tell me more about that.
Well, they use this example of a guy that's got the Swedish supermodel. Sex means something to him. Beautiful girls mean something to him. Accessing beauty is important. He's more likely to stray. Essentially, they're arguing that if someone places a huge emphasis on physical attractiveness above all else, they might be more likely to end up with a partner who shares that same potentially fleeting focus.
Which, let's be real, isn't exactly a recipe for a strong and stable relationship.
Not usually, no. It's like they're caught in this cycle of seeking out the most attractive partner possible, even if that means ending up with someone who's more likely to stray. And this isn't just a one-way street. People who prioritize those superficial qualities in a partner might also be more likely to be the ones who stray, always seeking out the next level up in terms of looks or wealth.
So it's this self-fulfilling prophecy. You're drawn to what you value most. But if what you value most is fleeting, it's only a matter of time before the whole thing blows up.
It's a possibility the source definitely seems to be raising. But here's where it gets even more interesting. They then flip the script and talk about the role of confidence and security in all of this.
Intrigued. Tell me more.
They argue that men who are already confident and comfortable with women, the kind of guys who aren't intimidated by approaching someone out of their league, are less likely to get hung up on looks alone.
Interesting. So someone who's already secure in themselves doesn't feel the need to validate themselves by having the most attractive partner in the room.
Exactly. And the source even goes so far as to say, and I'm paraphrasing here, that the type of guy who can confidently walk up to a stunning woman and try to chat her up, even knowing he might get rejected, is a guy who prioritizes beauty to a high degree.
Because he's so comfortable with the possibility of rejection that he's willing to risk it to try and connect with someone he finds that attractive.
You got it. He's not letting the fear of striking out stop him from going after what he wants. And that leads to a thought-provoking question. Could it be that these confident guys, the ones who are comfortable in their own skin, are actually less likely to end up with partners who cheat simply because they're not solely focused on those superficial qualities?
It's like they're playing a different game entirely, one where confidence is the real ace in the hole, not just a flashy car or a perfect six-pack.
It's an intriguing idea, right? And it makes you wonder if maybe, just maybe, those guys who are comfortable with themselves are more likely to build relationships based on genuine connection rather than just superficial attraction. And that kind of connection, that's where you find the real deal.
It makes me think about how so much of dating advice, especially for men, seems to focus on those external factors, how to dress, how to talk, how to basically be more appealing to the eyes. But what if we're missing the forest for the trees? What if true confidence, the kind that comes from within and isn't tied to your bank account or your biceps, is what makes you truly attractive?
And what's interesting is the conversation we're analyzing touches on that very idea, especially when it comes to the whole red pill phenomenon.
Ah, yes, the red pill. It's like this whole other layer of complexity when it comes to dating and relationships.
Definitely. And the source doesn't hold back on its critique of the movement. They suggest that this idea of pulling back the curtain on dating dynamics while claiming to empower men can actually have the opposite effect. Instead of leading to healthier, more fulfilling relationships, they argue that it often just amplifies insecurities and fosters this sense of distrust.
So instead of seeing the good in people and looking for genuine connection, it's more about protecting yourself from getting hurt, almost expecting it.
Exactly. It's like they're approaching dating from this place of fear, constantly on guard for any sign of manipulation or deceit. And the source suggests that this kind of hypervigilance, this almost paranoid mindset, can actually become a self-fulfilling prophecy.
Meaning if you go into every interaction expecting the worst, you're more likely to find it.
Precisely. The source even points out how this red pill mentality can lead to a vicious cycle. You buy into this fear-based approach, then you attract partners who confirm those fears, reinforcing the idea that everyone's out to use you. It's like they're sabotaging themselves without even realizing it.
It's a tough cycle to break out of, too, because if your starting point is distrust, it's hard to build the kind of foundation you need for a healthy relationship.
You hit the nail on the head. And that's where the source offers a really crucial alternative one that they argue is far more effective than swallowing the red pill, building genuine self-esteem and setting healthy boundaries.
Okay, so instead of trying to decode some secret playbook for dating, it's more about focusing on your own sense of self-worth.
Exactly. When you approach dating from a place of confidence and self-respect, you're naturally going to be more discerning about who you choose as a partner. You're not going to settle for someone who doesn't value you for who you are, red flags or not.
Because you recognize your own worth, and you're not willing to compromise that, even for the sake of avoiding being alone.
That's the idea. The source seems to suggest that when you have that strong sense of self-worth, you're more likely to attract partners who are also secure and confident people who aren't looking to play games or take advantage.
It creates this kind of upward spiral, right? Confidence, attracting confidence. And suddenly, those superficial things matter less because you're both coming to the table as your most authentic selves.
That's exactly the point the source seems to be driving at. It's not that wealth, beauty, or even being aware of certain dating patterns are inherently bad things. It's about the power they hold over us and how that influences our choices.
If you let those things define your worth or dictate your relationship decisions, you might end up missing out on the real deal.
And it makes you wonder, what if the most fulfilling relationships are the ones built on a foundation of mutual respect, shared values, and genuine connection, regardless of bank account balances or outward appearances?
The kind of love that sees beyond the surface and appreciates the person beneath. Now, that's a love story I can get behind.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And maybe, just maybe, those relationships are more likely to flourish when we stop chasing after those shiny distractions and start focusing on what truly matters.
So as we wrap up this deep dive, I'm left with this thought. If someone only wants to be with you because of your money or your looks, are they really in love with you? Or are they just in love with the idea of what they think you represent? The lifestyle, the status, the external validation.
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it? And it makes you wonder,
Yeah.
if you had to choose, which would you rather have? A partner who's completely smitten with your wealth or your looks, or someone who maybe wasn't initially as wowed by those things, but came to love you deeply for who you are at your core? Something to ponder.
Food for thought indeed.
Yeah.
Because maybe, just maybe, true love isn't about finding someone who's dazzled by your shine, but someone who embraces you, imperfections and all, and helps you shine even brighter.